Hi everybody, it's Christina and thank you for joining me. So I'm here again with the Plaited with Love collection, but as I promised, I'm going to do cards with a more masculine theme. So I'm going to use all the dies and the stencils, and I'm going to make as many cards as I can, showing you all the different, or some of the different variations that you can create. So I'm going to use my A5 set as a demonstration piece, because all of the die sets will do the same thing for you. So using the largest die from each of the sets, I have cut myself some bases. So there's my A5 base, my 5x7 base. Now for these I've just folded an A4 piece of card in half, and I've just hung the top of the die off the card, off the join, and that's cut my bases. The same die again, I've cut myself another layer that will sit on the top of each of these. Then using the same die again and the detailed one, I've cut another panel that will sit on the front of this card. So these are the pieces that I now have for my cards. So if you look, the patterns on these are slightly different. These go on this diagonal, these go straight, and this is a different pattern altogether. So I've cut these in different colours. Now if you put them together, you will see that those patterns marry up. But if you take one and turn this round, you will get a different look for your cards. So let's do it with the white on top. Can you see how they look different? You've got the lines in different areas, and you can do the same with this. So if you put them together, they will marry up. If you turn one of them over, you will have a different pattern, a different look for your cards. And you can do the same with this. This will give you a different look. If you turn one of them over, it will give you a different shape, and that one will do the same. So already you've got different ways that you can use these dies. Now I'm not going to use the blue ones, so we're now going to move on to the next stage. So looking at the dies again, we have this die. Now you can use that along with this die as I've shown you there, but you can also use this die to just cut into the card. So with another base card and the layer, I've created another look for my A5s. You don't have to keep the mats underneath your detailed layer the same. You can change the colour, and that way that will show through in your card. You can also change the layers as you add them, so that's another look to your 5x7. You can also add the circular die to the top of your A5 card, and that would give you another look for your designs. You can also add the smaller circle of the A5 from the circle to the 5x7, and that would give you yet another look for your cards. You can also add the circle to the top of the square if that is what you wish, and layer them up together, and that would give you yet another look. So already we've got 3, 5, 7, 8 cards there that are all going to be different. Now what I want to do now is create some backgrounds for my cards. So I've turned some double-sided low tack tape into a circle, and that's just going to hold my card in place. And so I think we'll put them both on the card, and then we can see the difference in how they look. So we'll add this one there, and we'll add the thicker one, the plaited one. This is basket weave, this is plaits. So we'll add these here to these cards. So I'm not going over the pattern, I'm just taping the stencil down. So these are the colours that I'm going to use for my patterns. I have a piece of copy paper that will cover one side while I ink the other. So as I'm going to blend these, I'm going to do them in thirds and blend them in really well, and I will speed things up as I do it so that you're not bored. Colours that I've used to create my patterns. Now I'm going to divide the card because I want to do something a little bit different with this side. So for this piece, with some black ink and a text stamp, I'm just going to randomly add some text over the card. So we'll put some there, and then what I'm going to do next is cover this with some glitter. So for this I need some double-sided sticky sheet, and I'm going to put it down so that it's the front of the card is facing upwards. So we'll add the sticky sheet in there. Let's just put the lid back on this. We'll take the backing off it, make sure it's all pressed down, then we'll take the backing off it. And there's the sticky side, and now we can add some glitter to this. So we're just going to pop it into our glitter. So with my scallop die from my A5 set, I've cut my panel and I'm going to add this to my card. So once you've used your favourite colours and your dies to cut them out, this is what you will have. So you've got panels to sit on the fronts of your cards, and if you mark on the back the colours that you've used, you will know what your favourite colours are. So this one is Pumice Stone, Salvage Patina and Uncharted Mariner, and that will sit there. And there's another one. Now here's something else you can do. I've used the largest stencil to put the pattern down first, and then over the top of it I've used the smaller stencil, and that's going to create another pattern for my cards. So now we can get busy and glue all these together. Now for these A5 cards I'm going to use this on the top and put the other pattern underneath. So let's deal with the 3 A5 size cards first. This one is going to have this panel on the front. I'm adding this with some foam pads. So that's going to sit along there. This one has also got foam pads on it, and this is the one with the panel stuck underneath. So I'm going to add this to the front of this card. Now this one is the one that's going to have the 5x7 added to it. For the next 2 cards I'm dealing with the 5x7s. So I've got to add this panel in there. That panel goes on that card, and then each one has the fancy top to it. And then I've got 2 more stencil panels that will sit on the front. So I'm going to glue those in place. So So now let's move on to the circular cards, and for one of them I'm just going to fold this in half because we're going to turn this into an easel card. So on the front of that now, gluing just the bottom part, I need to add this piece, and then this piece goes on top. So there's my easel card. I just need to create a base for this and a stop, and this one is just a plain circle card that's been glued flat. Now for this one I'm going to add this scalloped layer with foam pads, and this stenciled piece is going to sit on the top. And for this one I've just taken some Uncharted Mariner and I've just inked around the edges of that scalloped one, and then I'm going to add this pattern and this one to the top. And there's my other two circle cards. Now don't forget, with circular cards they won't stand up, they will roll over. So what I do is I find a straight line on this panel, I take another straight line along another line, and I draw a line, and then all I do is simply cut that off, and now you'll find that the card will stand for you, stand, and it won't roll over. So for the stop to my easel card I've simply cut another scalloped one, and I've layered these up and then cut them in half and glued them together, and they've been added with foam pads, and that will keep my easel card open. And now that I've levelled the back to that one will stand. So there are my two circular cards now ready to decorate. Let's move on to the squares. So for my squares I have one plain base and one patterned base. I have a pattern top to go on the top of this, and there's my panel that will sit in the middle. And then on this one I have a shaped top, and again the panel that will sit in the middle. This is going to have the squares in it, excuse me, and this one will have the circles on the top, or I might just swap that round and do that the other way. Now if you remember, I said with these, if you turn one the other way you will get a different look to your design, to your squares. And so that's what I've done, and they're going to sit along the top of my card. These will all be glued together and they will sit on the front. Now for this square card I've decided to layer it all up in blue and white. So I've got my scallop layer, my detailed layer, and the same with my circles, and they're going to sit on the top. So I'll glue all those together, and then that will be another square card ready for decorating. So there are my cards. We have two square cards, two round cards, one of them is an easel, two 5x7s and three A5s. Now they're all in need of some decoration and some sentiments, and that's the next step. So for this one I'm going to add in some extras in the form of these, and these were the two that I made in different colours. Now if you remember, I told you that if you cut them both the same way, if you lay them both the same way, the patterns will marry up, but if you turn one of them round you will have a different pattern on your card, and that is going to sit on the front of this one along there. Now this is going to sit on the front of this card here. So once you've finished your cards you'll need some sentiments, and you may decide to just add your sentiments to the plain base. But once you've added in some different stuff, some leaves, it makes the card look a whole lot different. And although you may not like flowers, you may want to add in some leaves and anything left on your desk that you can use. So for the rest of it now I'm going to decorate these cards up properly and show you the finished result. Here now are are all my cards decorated, and just a little bit of greenery, or in this case gold and white, just adds to the interest in the card. And even though it's for a man, it still needs to be something that he will be pleased to get. So those are my A5s. These are my two 5x7s, and again I've used the stencil pattern on the front. I've used the overlay to cover the front of this, and I've used my leaf dies to give me some interest to the card. You can use any leaf dies that you have. There are my two circular cards. One is an easel, the other will just stand straight. And there are my square cards. Now any one of these designs, any one of these die sets will create an easel card or a shaker card, or any shape you can change these into, like a twisted easel, and they will all do the same. So I've ended up with 3 square cards. And there is a look at all the cards together. So I've got 10 really pretty cards there that will be ideal to send to the male members of your family. So there's a varied assortment of cards, and I've used the stamps, the stencils, and the 4 die sets from the Plaited with Love collection. And they are the circles, the 5x7, the A5, and the 6x6. And the only other things I've used are the leaves from the Rose Flourish and the sentiments from the Special Words. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please join me on the next one, and I'll see you again soon. But why not subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell, and then you'll always be aware when I add a new video. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye for now.